Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Raymarc Solutions webinar. Raymarc is highly repeatable, best practice IT system management and service delivery. We strive to satisfy the ever-increasing demand to cut cost, increase efficiencies, and align ourselves with the goals of your business. BMC Service Desk Express is sunsetting at the end of 2017, and support will no longer be available. If you have SDE, contact us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, and we can successfully migrate you to another solution that best fits your business's needs.
In this section, we're going to go ahead and discuss managing your devices using BMC Client Management. Now, what BMC Client Management is a software that allows you to manage your devices from a remote location. Depending on the features that you purchase with the product, you will be able to perform device management. In this example, we're going to show you here, when you go, if you go under your device groups, and you can see here devices that I have in a domain that I have configured. This is all part of the device management functionality in BMC Client Management. You're going to see here that I have a couple of devices in my matrix.local domain, which I have added using a dynamic population. This is part of the management features which allows you to add devices in a domain environment. And some of the other features that you can do, for example, is you can actually build custom device groups, like this out of the box here that comes with the program. You got your all devices, which allows you to do not only devices that have the agent installed, but also devices that do not have the agent installed on it as well. And you can actually deploy later if these devices are either Windows devices, Linux devices, or Apple devices like MacBooks and the desktop devices for Apple. So when it comes to device management, okay, one of the things that you want to look at is the device topology. Now, the way that the system works is you have a central or a head device, which is called the master server. In this case here, we're talking about our friend Optimus Prime, and I apologize for my usage of Transformers names, but it just makes it easier to remember and manage. So we got Optimus Prime being the master server, and then we have a second device here, which is the relay server. Now, in management, when it comes to devices, there will be times in an environment where you cannot connect your client devices, which are all of these devices here. You can't connect your client devices directly to the master server. Some of these examples in which that could not happen is network security. You could have multiple locations in different parts of the world in which these client devices would not be able to reach out to the master server. Or you can have a relay device sitting either at a unsecure part of, or not unsecure part of the network, but let's say, for example, a DMC on the internet that allows those devices to connect to the relay. The relay will receive all of the requests from all of these client devices and then send that information over to the master server. That's one of the ways that you can actually manage devices from around the world. You can have a relay, let's say, in Texas. You can have a relay, let's say, in India. You can have a relay in France. You can have a relay in Spain. And all of these relays will be connecting to the respective clients from within that area, and then the relay can then pass the information over to the master server. And that's how you can perform what's one of the ways that you can actually perform the connectivity between all of your clients and your master. So again, the topology is a master server, which is the main asset core server. Then you will have your relay server, and then finally you will have your respective clients. Now, notice in this particular topology, some of the icons are slightly different. We got some red icons here, and we also have some green icons here. The green icons are basically devices that have recently connected. Now, asset management doesn't work like a program like SolarWinds, in which it provides immediate details on the devices that are connected or not connected. There's a 24-hour turnaround time by default when devices have not communicated back to the master server. They would turn red, like these two devices here. Okay, so you got your physical devices, which are these devices here, and I unfortunately cannot zoom that in, but if you see these devices that are here, like Bumblebee and Cybertron, these are devices that are physical hardware. They're not virtual devices. Ironhide is the same way. Now, virtual devices will be the ones that are in the clear icon, like for example, Optimus Prime is a virtual device, Megatron is another virtual device, as well as this desktop device, which we'll be using later to provide an example on how you can do, or how patch management, on how the patch management functionality works. So this is basically the design of the topology, and for you to be able to perform a connection like this, you will need to do a rollout, which is part of the global settings and then rollouts. And as you can see, I already configured 2 rollouts that will allow me to roll out to my clients and roll out to my Ironhide relay. Now, you can create a specific rollout for all of your relays so that you can deploy to any other relays that you need to do in your particular environment. So you could potentially have a client's rollout, and you can have a rollout for relays. This is not limited to only 2 items. Unfortunately, of course, my network is small, but you can have multiple rollouts for different functions. Now, rollouts work for devices that are for Windows, as well as Linux 32 and 64-bit devices, and Mac OS X devices. You can also, as you may have already assumed, you can also use these rollouts to be used for Windows servers as well. Okay. For device management with groups, one of the items that I showed you earlier is in the device groups. You notice that there was this particular group here for this domain, which is the matrix.local domain. Okay, this particular functionality can actually be configured from the directory service option in the global settings. So here you will see that I already have my domain configured with this particular information. Now, what's useful about this, for example, is that you can connect Asset Core. Sorry, I shouldn't say Asset Core. I should say BMC Client Management. You can connect BMC Client Management to your Active Directory, and from there you can build device groups. You can also do user groups. So in this example, I'm going to show you pretty quick how you can add a user group. Basically, let's say you have a new user group here, and if you go on the dynamic population, directory server, you right-click, assign server. We'll go ahead and expand the server for matrix for the Active Directory, and we're going to add from this Flycast Partners group. We're going to add some folks here in Canada. Go ahead and click OK. Once we have this added, you will notice that it will give you some synchronization results. Go ahead and close that out. And notice here how the new user group name changed to the OU that I actually synchronized it with. So it says Canada.flycastpartners.matrix.local, okay? And if I refresh my members here, all of my users from that particular OU have been added accordingly. Okay, this is one of the little examples that you can do. Obviously, if you have a much larger domain, and if you want to do specific OUs for device groups, you can do it that way, just the same way as you can do with user groups. If you want to add your entire domain from the top on down, that's also possible. You can actually manage domain information from within Asset Core this way with your device groups as well as your user groups. And you can also do this for the administrators. Now, the administrators are the folks that will be using Asset Core so that they can log into the console and do the functions that they're assigned to do within the organization. In this particular example here from Asset Core, as you can see, I am actually logged in with the admin account, which is an account that comes up when you're installing Asset Core for the very first time. But then after that, you can go ahead and proceed with adding all of your users as you see fit. You can add them manually if you want, or you can add them using Active Directory synchronization like you see here. Okay. In order for you to be able to add them using Active Directory, what you will need to do is go under Administrator Groups and create a new administrator group and synchronize it in the same way as we did with the users. The exact same procedure. You just basically add the directory server and then specify the OU that you wish to synchronize. Once you have it synchronized, you can have all of your users added in, and then you can proceed with assigning permissions. Now, for the purpose of this demonstration and to conserve time, I already added this particular group, obviously as you see here, and I already set up some permissions. One of the beauties in Asset Core, for example, is that you can actually log in using your Active Directory information. So for example, we're going to open up another Footprints client management session, and then we're going to go ahead and log in using Active Directory. Take just a moment for it to come up. Okay, so we're going to use me as an example. Okay, and okay, and when this comes up, you will see that I have logged in using my domain credentials there. Okay, now I want you to notice one thing here pretty quick. You'll notice here that my user account doesn't have as many items as the other account that I was working on. Let me go ahead and do this so that you can see a side-by-side comparison. Basically what this is you can control the level of permissions that you have with Asset Core as far as what administrators are allowed to do. Okay, so notice, for example, that my account for Emil only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items, okay, in comparison to this one here. Okay, all of this information can be controlled from the global settings and then the group permissions. You can synchronize the group and then say, for this particular group, I just want them to have these particular functionality within BMC Client Management. Static objects, same goes with static objects as well. Your device groups, patch management, patch jobs, queries reports, rollouts, scan configurations, targets and transfer windows, And the dynamic objects is basically the queries that allows you to see the information from within your expansions. So if we go back here, if we go to device groups, I can see my groups, and I can see my devices. And this person should be able to manage devices based on these permissions. But you can set it so that they can only see the devices depending on the functionality that they're assigned to. Okay. Another feature in the program is that, let me go ahead and close this person out for now. In the slide, I mentioned that you can do agent and agentless management. That's using asset discovery. Now, asset discovery allows you to scan your network for any device within a specific IP range. Okay, if your network is configured and specifically the scanner, if the scanner is configured to be able to scan throughout the entire network, you could potentially scan every single machine out there in your network, depending, of course, on your network structure. So as you can see here on the asset discovery, I have two specific scanners. I got Optimus Prime, which you guys remember was our master server. And then for another scanner, we're using the relay device, Ironhide. Okay, and this is a good example because you can use any device with the client. You can use it to be a scanner of your network. So if you have a client, if you have a regular client out there that you want to use as a scanner and his whole function is to be a scanner, you can actually add it into the scanners list and then configure your scan options so that you can go ahead and scan that section of the network. So here, we're going to go ahead and show you some of the discovered devices that the system found. You have to keep in mind also that the system will make a best attempt to determine the operating system of the device that is scanned. In some cases, it will not be able to determine the operating system due to firewall constraints or anything that would not allow the system to ping the network. But for example, here we found two devices that are Linux devices. It found one of my Windows servers that didn't have a client before, and it found some other devices on the network that, even though the system knew they were there, okay, it wasn't able to perform a deep scan of the system. Again, it could be because of firewall constraints and whatnot. But the program gives you the functionality and the option to be able to scan the network in this manner. Okay. Some of the other management features that you have is the financial asset management function for BMC Client Management. You can actually set up residual values for these type of devices, as well as other parameters like the type of currency. When do you want the evaluation to occur for client financial management, and also for the life cycle status? You can set up the life cycle status here for anything that you want. Now, you cannot remove the standard statuses, but you can add more statuses as you see fit. So if there's any new status, like for example, let's say reinstated, you can actually add those there. These items cannot be changed, but I believe there's an enhancement request over at BMC side that would allow you to change these standard items as well. So let's go ahead and remove the status for now. And then for you to be able to do the actual financial management within the product, you will go under your device groups, and we're going to go ahead and add, we're going to go ahead and work with Megatron here. And this is the financial summary for for the financial asset management summary for Megatron. There's not a lot of information here because it hasn't been worked on. But for example, you can actually set up purchase date, date received. You can do the service start date, and you can actually go into the properties and say that the machine is actually deployed. So you can go through the life cycle status of when you put the machine in on order, when it was received, when it was in stock, when it was deployed, and finally when the machine is getting retired. By retiring, meaning that you have the option to be able to deprecate a device from inventory. So if you deprecate the device, okay, what will happen is that the device is going to go into a gray status. So let's go ahead and do that with a start screen here. So let's go ahead and deprecate the device. We're not going to do an agent uninstall. Notice how the device has turned gray, meaning that the record was still there per the last snapshot before you do the depreciation. Once the device has been deprecated, if we go back under the device, notice that the only items that it has left is basically just the snapshot of the inventory before it was deprecated. No other functionality is going to be available except for inventory only and the financial asset management. Notice that the device has been automatically retired. And that's basically a little overview on how the device management works as far as deploying, what a client, master, and a relay is, deploying using rollouts, obviously, doing asset discovery, and a little bit overview on financial asset management. The next thing that we're going to go over is going to be on the features.